I could see that I needed to change my whole attitude toward what I was doing in life at that moment, getting an education. I needed to begin thinking for myself. I needed to begin examining questions that I had always just considered to be settled or had never raised. I began to realize some other things. I had strong political views. I'd grown up in a strong Union Democratic family in West Virginia. We were Christians, and Jesus Christ was the most important thing. But only a few steps behind him was Franklin Delano Roosevelt and the United Mine Workers of America and the Democratic Party. These were the 50s and 60s when I was growing up in West Virginia, and so I had a very tribal attitude toward politics. I believed what the Democratic Party and the United Mine Workers of America believed, and I thought that Franklin Delano Roosevelt, wasn't quite a god, but he was something close to a saint, and that's how I looked at things. And I was good at arguing. I was a good debater. I was good at rhetoric, and I used those skills to advance my party and my tribe and my group's view of things. It was all very partisan. And it was reading Gorgias, it was reading Plato that made me rethink all that and made me realize most of what I thought about politics, I thought basically for tribal reasons, not because I'd actually thought for myself or thought these things through. So that impelled me to begin really examining questions anew, really for the first time. And some of my views, especially my religious views, actually strengthened as a result of that. I became more persuaded of the truth of what I had believed. But some of my views, especially my political views, I ended up abandoning. They just didn't withstand scrutiny once I put them on the table and began looking at them. And so that launched me on a kind of odyssey, a journey politically, from being what I suppose in those days you would regard as a liberal Democrat, although the term liberal meant something a little different then than it does now, toward being not that anymore, and eventually becoming and accepting the label of being a conservative, and eventually, although this took quite some time, I guess I feared that my grandfathers would be rolling in their graves, actually becoming a Republican. Registering as a Republican was the hardest part of the journey, because of course where I grew up in West Virginia, in coal mining country, not only did we not like Republicans, we didn't know any. They were the rich people who owned the mines and lived outside of the state and exploited our fathers and grandfathers. We didn't want to have anything to do with them. We were partisan Democrats. So when I finally reached the point where not only was I not a Democrat anymore, but I was going to register as a Republican, that I did with some trepidation. That old family tie held me back really for some time.